Hello everyone, Storm11 here. Today we'll be talking about a winter storm that'll hit parts of the Wyoming area. That'll bring in quite a bit of snow, especially in the higher elevations. We do have winter storm warnings and also winter storm watches in effect across parts of Wyoming. We're also going to be talking about an active pattern that'll be happening later this month in October, where multiple systems will come on shore across parts of western United States. They'll bring in quite a bit of rain, decent amount of snow in the higher elevations. And when they get to the Central Plains, they can get pretty interesting there as well. So we may get to see a potentially pretty active pattern later this month. But we're going to go ahead and get started with the watch warning map. And like I said earlier, we do have winter storm warnings and watches across parts of Wyoming. We also do have winter weather advisories as well across those areas. And I believe there's some winter weather advisories in the higher elevations across parts of California, Oregon, and also Utah as well with some winter weather advisories there as well. Meanwhile, everywhere else is pretty much quiet as well. Not a whole lot to talk about here over the next several days here. It's going to be staying mostly quiet, but let's first talk about this potential winter storm. This is really the biggest thing that's going to be happening this week. And so when we check out the European model, we do have a low pressure system over parts of Nevada, Utah, and also Idaho as well. They'll be continuing to move on to the east here into parts of Wyoming. And we'll kind of see what happens here later today. So snow starts to arrive here by later this afternoon here to the evening hours. And you can see here some of the snow starts to show up in those higher elevations. You kind of see it continuing across those areas as well. Here's 5 o'clock in the morning. The moisture has arrived. Your low pressure system's now into parts of Colorado at this time. There is some snow that could happen across parts of the higher elevations of Utah and also parts of Colorado as well, which is very interesting. And some heavier bands of snow starts to show up where we start to see more energy kind of getting involved here in into parts of Wyoming. And that's where some of the most of the snow is going to fall. So continue on to Tuesday. So snow may try to happen across parts of the Rapid City area in South Dakota as well. Similar to what we had not too long ago, we had some snow across those areas as well. Maybe a chance for some snow across parts of western South Dakota. We'll see uh, how the temperatures kind of go in some of the thermos up in the atmosphere as well. That'll definitely make a difference with some of the snowfall here. If you kind of check out the GFS, it actually shows a very similar thing. So some places in parts of Nebraska, South Dakota, maybe into parts of southern uh, North Dakota could see decent amount of snow as well. Continue to move on to 7 o'clock here. Your low pressure system's now into parts of Minnesota and then Iowa. Here's a cold front right here. They'll be moving across parts of the Midwest. They'll be continuing to move on to the east. Behind that, bring in much more, or I should say, more cooler air behind that, below average temperatures just behind that. So some of you guys in the eastern United States will have a little bit of a warm up here, but then this cold front here, it's gonna come through and cool things back down. And then we start to pay attention to areas off to the west from there. Let's check out some of those snowfall totals. So this is for the next, let's go for the next 3 days here. You do see here quite a bit of snow in those higher elevations. Some places could see maybe close to 20 inches of snow. I mean, that's very typical for the higher elevations to get quite a bit of snow. Maybe we'll be overdone with the higher elevations in northeastern Utah. Talk about snowfall amounts close to a foot. But it looks to be a general of 8 to 12 inches with isolated 12 plus in some places. That looks to be the general idea. You do see some snow across parts of South Dakota and Nebraska. The ground will be on the warmer side of things, so it will take some time for the snow to stick depending on how high the rates will be from the snow there. Then here's the European model solutions, a little bit more detailed look. You do see here, it does show quite a bit of snow in some of those higher elevations, generally maybe 5 to 8 inches of snow with isolated, a foot in some places. You also do notice here across parts of South Dakota and Nebraska, um, European models indicating some snowfall amounts could be close to 8 inches, which is very interesting. But might be a little bit on the higher end of the scale there. You can maybe be talking about maybe a couple inches of snow across those areas in there as well. So winter weather advisories may get issued for some of those areas as well. But really, overall, here, that's pretty much it for this week here. When we kind of get to later this week, or next week, I should say, that's when things start to get interesting. So let's move on to tropical tidbits here. This is the GFS again. There goes that low pressure system. Continue to move on across parts of the Midwest. And you do notice here, what's very interesting here is we kind of move on to parts of Saturday. You kind of get this little trough that kind of sits up here across parts of the upper Midwest and parts of southern Canada. Underneath that, there is some snow mixed in as well, so parts of northern Minnesota could see some of their first snowflakes of the season there, if I were to verify. And you do see this low here, a low pressure system starts to develop here nearby Buffalo, New York, Niagara Falls, some of those areas in there. That continues to move on to the east here. What's very interesting here is what happens after that. Then it really starts to kick into gear of deepening there. Let me change this cover here to red so you guys can see a little better. And you get this low pressure system that really starts to deepen very quickly. And behind that low, or to the north of the low, heavy snow. It will really depend on how the thermals will go up in the atmosphere. If the environment is just right, even in the towards the let me say this. Even at the surface here, temperatures may be just above the freezing mark, but not too far above your heads. It's below freezing. So that'll be very interesting to watch to see what happens there with that system. And then another system comes up across parts of Missouri and Illinois that will also continue to move quickly to the east there as well. And then we talk about what's going to be coming off the Rockies here. And if this is right, got a lot of snow in the higher elevations in the Rockies region, and also some showers in the lower elevations. Then we get to see this, then again, a big low that moves off the Rockies here. This has been kind of the theme for fall, or at least for October. You do notice here we get this massive trough that moves across parts of the western United States up and continue to move on to the east. You get a rapidly deepening low in the northern plains and upper Midwest. And you kind of see what happens here. So this is now getting into Tuesday, or October 26th. You see here we got a very deep low, 989, 81 millibar low, I should say. And then you get potentially some severe weather in the warm sector there. You can definitely see there's maybe some potential supercells. Don't want to get too detailed on that since it may likely change. And then as you kind of move into the overnight hours, the severe weather quickly moves to the east there, now moving into parts of the Ohio Valley into the early morning hours of Wednesday, or October 27th. So very interesting setup there. And then another one happens behind that develops along that front, also breaks another bowling ball system as well. As you can see there, as we kind of get to October 28th, you got 983 millibar low. This will likely change. This is 10 plus days out. But if this is right, we could see some severe weather across parts of Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia as well, if I were to be correct. But then again, that can likely change as well. So definitely a very interesting pattern here of what could be seen there. Possibly similar to what we had not too long ago, where we had a couple big systems that have across parts of the Central United States. But I think the difference here is that it may be a little bit further to the east here, maybe more focused across parts of the Mississippi River valleys with this setup here. So definitely something we need to pay attention to as well. And if we check out the Canadian model here for a preference, you can see there goes that low there. It doesn't really show that low there developing kind of along that trough there like the GFS shows, so there's some uncertainty there, but it does try to show a weak low over Virginia. But we're still a little ways away, so things could change. But check out off the west here just off the coast of Oregon and Washington at 960 millibar low. Maybe a little bit overkill of that low, but you definitely notice here what happens here is you get high winds across Washington, Oregon, and California, and talk about a lot of rain in those higher elevations, the Sierra Mountains in California. That would be pretty impressive if that were to be correct. And that's kind of the theme here, what we'll be seeing here. These big lows that move on shore here, and then that moves across the Rockies, and then you get lows that start to deepen when it gets to the Central Plains, and that can bring severe weather in the warm sector. You can see here on October 27th here, it shows something similar to the GFS model here. A big low over across parts of the Midwest with severe weather in the warm sector. So it's definitely a very interesting pattern here we need to pay attention to as well. And here's the European model. It's not as impressed as the GFS and the Canadian model, but it does show something similar here, forming along a cold front here. This is checking out the 27th here. Also shows a surface low over by parts of Illinois and Indiana in the warm sector, and again, potentially some severe weather or strong storms. So this is definitely a pattern here we need to focus on as well. It also will mean that there's going to be a pretty good warm up across parts of the eastern United States. Above average temperatures could definitely return here, with temperatures that be probably deep in the 70s here with a lot of places, and probably across parts of the south here, 80s will show up again here with some high humidity. So really the general pattern here we're going to be seeing here is warm across the east, cool and wet or stormy across the rest of the central and western United States as well, with severe weather kind of in between here. That's kind of the general pattern here we're going to be seeing here as we get towards the end of October. When we check out the Climate Prediction Center outlook here, you do see here that above normal temperatures across most of the central and eastern United States as well. The only areas that's on the cooler side of things will be across parts of the west and also for the northeast as well. Across the northeast, we'll have some troughing across those regions, but that trough should get out of there as we get a little bit more deeper into late October. When we look into 8 or 6 to 10 day precipitation, yeah, you can definitely notice across the northwest, pretty good chance of above normal precipitation. That is a 70 to 80% chance. So that's a pretty high confidence forecast for them folks up there. Be across along the East Coast, looking to be on the drier side. Also looking to be drier across parts of the desert Southwest. Also looking to be on the wetter side of things across parts of the Midwest as well. As we check out to 8 to 14 day temperatures, you can see here pretty much the similar story, but the exception is that the Northeast does warm up. Everywhere else is kind of the same here. And then when you check out for precipitation here, it's a very similar scenario, but things start to turn on the wetter side of things across the east. So that's going to be kind of your general pattern. However, things could change here over the next several days. We haven't talked about tropics in a while, and you know what? There's still nothing to talk about as of right now, at least in the Atlantic here. Nothing to talk about in the Atlantic. First time in a long time. I believe since July. I know it's been like this for a couple of days, so we're a little late on this, but this is definitely a good sign here. So, and models still don't even show much of any signs of tropical activity down here. We may be able to squeeze out one more system before the season's over with, but we'll see what kind of happens here. But it looks like things are going to be staying quiet here over the next several days here in the Atlantic. But anyways, guys, this is all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you already do like my channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, put in the comment section down below. I answer you guys questions. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.